Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to be pulling back the curtain on this kind of invisible force that completely dictates the entire retail market. We're talking about a foundational concept straight out of business academia. It's called the product lifecycle.
So, let's start with a question. Why do incredibly popular products, like, say, the iPod, just eventually disappear from store shelves? I mean, if you were around in the mid-2000s, you know the iPod wasn't just a product, right? It was a literal cultural phenomenon. Absolutely everyone had those iconic white earbuds. It felt like absolute magic. Honestly, some of us probably still have a broken one sitting in a junk drawer somewhere just for the nostalgia. But try finding a brand new iPod Classic at your local electronics store today. You literally can't. So how does a gadget that once basically ruled the world just quietly slip away into the history books?
And that really brings us to our core mystery for today. Because on one hand, we have these products that completely dominate the market. They pull in billions of dollars. And then, poof, they just vanish from retail existence entirely. But then, on the exact opposite side of things, we have products that just seem to last forever. I mean, they weather economic storms, they survive completely changing consumer trends, and they remain absolute staples in our lives decade after decade. So why does one product face this ultimate death, while another seems, practically invincible? What actually separates the fleeting stuff from the permanent?
Well, the absolutely crucial point here is this. Every single product goes through a predictable aging process. It's true, products don't just die randomly, and they don't just suffer a sudden stroke of bad luck. Actually, much like living, breathing organisms, products have an anatomy. They experience this highly predictable, natural aging process. So, whether we're talking about a revolutionary piece of tech, a specific model of a car, or even just a simple children's toy, the clock starts ticking the exact literal moment it hits the market. And here is the exact framework used in product management. It's a four-step process. First, a product hits the market in introduction. Then, it catches on during growth. After that, it eventually plateaus in maturity. And finally, it fades away in decline. That's the continuous life cycle. Literally every single item sitting in your house right now is somewhere in this flow. And recognizing which of these stages a product is in, well, that's essentially the ultimate cheat code for understanding exactly how a business is operating behind the scenes. But here is where the strategy actually comes into play. Because survival requires constantly shifting two major levers: marketing and pricing. A business cannot just invent a cool product, put it on a shelf, and sit perfectly still. It just doesn't work that way. As a product ages through those four stages we just talked about, the company behind it has to be incredibly dynamic. If they freeze, like if they try to market a mature product the exact same way they marketed it on day one during its introduction, that product is going to crash and the business will fail.
Let's break this down a bit. Think about the introduction stage. At this point, nobody knows what your product even is, so your marketing has to focus entirely on education and building awareness. And your pricing? Well, it might be set super high to recover all those development costs, or maybe really low just to break into the market. Then we hit growth. Okay, the product is catching on. Now the marketing shifts. You need to build strong brand preference so you stand out from all those inevitable, kind of slightly worse copycats that pop up. And your pricing is optimized to capture as much market share as possible. Next up is maturity. This is the plateau. At this point, everyone who wants the product probably already has it. So marketing pivots again to highlight really unique differences or to offer promotions to steal customers away from rivals. Meanwhile, pricing becomes incredibly competitive just to maintain sales volume. And finally, decline. The market is moving on to the next big thing. At this point, marketing budgets are slashed. I mean, there's just no point running expensive ads for a dying product, right? And pricing drops significantly just to clear out the remaining inventory, basically squeezing out the last few drops of profit.
Okay, so let's ground this whole theory in reality, and we're going to use a brilliant, real-world example to do it: the Sony PlayStation. Chances are you or somebody you know has interacted with a PlayStation at some point in your life, right? They are honestly the perfect anchor to see how these exact academic business principles play out in the real world. PlayStation has absolutely mastered the art of navigating the product lifecycle, and looking at their playbook makes this entire framework just crystal clear.
See, Sony doesn't just make one console and cross their fingers hoping it lasts forever. No way. They know the life cycle is inevitable, so they engineer sequential life cycles. From the original PlayStation back in 1994 all the way to the PS5 we have today, they manage this continuous, overlapping wave of innovation. Actually, before one console generation even hits that fatal decline stage, they're already introducing the next one. This ensures the overall PlayStation brand stays in a constant state of growth and maturity. It's pretty brilliant. And as a console, let's take the PlayStation 4 for example. As it ages and moves towards decline, Sony executes the exact strategy we looked at earlier. They stop running those massive primetime TV ads for the PS4, and instead, they start targeting more budget-conscious gamers or families. And simultaneously, they drop the pricing. So what started as a premium $400 piece of introductory hardware becomes a heavily discounted, say, $200 bundle just to clear out inventory. They pivot perfectly to match the product's biological age. They squeeze out those final profits, all while clearing the runway for the PlayStation 5.
Ultimately, as our source material specifically points out, understanding it is key to long-term business survival. Listen, the product lifecycle is not just some abstract chart in a dusty business textbook. It is literally a matter of life and death for a company. Think about it. If Sony hadn't understood this, they would have kept trying to sell the original PlayStation at full price in the year 2005, and they absolutely would have gone bankrupt. Mastering this cycle, knowing exactly when to push, when to discount, and when to just let a product gracefully exit the market, that is exactly what separates the legendary companies from the ones we've completely forgotten about.
So I want to leave you with this final thought. Look at your desk right now. Look at your phone. Or maybe think about the car sitting in your driveway. What stage of the product lifecycle is your current favorite product in right now? Is it in that thrilling introduction stage? Is it just cruising through maturity? Or is it quietly slipping into decline, soon to join the iPod in the history books? I promise you, once you start viewing the retail world through this lens, you are never going to look at a price drop or a TV commercial the exact same way again. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.